Mate Helping Mate has been, I think, the most successful of any campaign in this area to help isolated people.
The drought is painful, the drought is mean. Through the drought no one sees green. The drought is crucial, the drought looks red. The drought is so difficult it gives me nightmares in bed.
The wisdom of their fathers that was passed down to them just never allowed for so many consecutive years of drought.
The sun is scorching, the animals are dead. The drought gives me bad memories running through my head. I feel the violent sun burning on my back. Everywhere I step, there'll always be a crack.
We're all extremely worried, especially so for the next couple of years. It's not over yet by a long shot.
The drought makes anger, life's getting worse, and I feel as if my life's a curse.
It's the feeling of failure. Nothing you seem to do seems to go right. You know, every decision you make seems to be wrong.
When my cattle and sheep are dying, I go and have a sob about how I've lost more than half of my mob.
The last 12 months, even a couple of years, were the worst I've ever seen.
Sobbing turns to a cry, then I think how and why. We all need rain, it's all the same, we'll be saying this again and again.
People's income have been very severely affected, so people are worrying about, are they going to have enough money to put food on the table? Can they pay their bills? Can they pay you to come to the doctor? Can they fill the car up with fuel? All those sort of issues become really, really paramount in their lives.
It affects the male initially because he's the breadwinner, he's the pride of the family, and I think his pride's being knocked because he isn't bringing home the money for the family. So in some ways he's feeling like he's failing, even though it's totally out of his control.
Farmers are a very proud people.
We all need rain, so keep on praying. It's very precious. As you can see, it's all needed for you and me.
Depression certainly is an issue in rural areas in Australia, just as it is Australia-wide. We certainly know that about 1 in 5 people in their lifetime will have a major depressive illness, so it's very common. We know that mental health issues have increased with the drought.
But both physically and emotionally, if you like mentally, people are starting to show that they're not coping because of the longevity of what's been going on.
Mental health issues have become very, very noticeable in the district. Not only in the rural areas, within the town as well.
Michael had actually, he hung himself in the family back shed, so yeah, it was bad.
People in the community were actually very surprised when Michael died, and because they always saw him outwardly in the street as being very, very happy. Very talkative and outgoing, whereas behind closed doors in the family atmosphere, he was much more withdrawn. I guess, obviously, for us it was quite obvious that he was depressed by his behaviour.
I think that lack of friendship and that isolation certainly would contribute to him slipping down, because, the loneliness and isolation. Yeah, you just can't see I guess he couldn't see a way out.
The only communication a lot of these people have is with their wives and with their kids, and that's it. No longer even with the neighbours.
So yeah, there's less time now to actually socialise.
People don't like talking about having depression or any other mental illness. They think it's, a weakness of their character, unfortunately.
And mental health is probably the last thing men would want to talk about.
At no time did I seek medical help for depression or a mental problem because I didn't think I had any. I went to the doctors because I had these physical symptoms, and I fair dinkum thought I had cancer or something. I think he knew what was going on, but he catered to me. He ran all the tests, and I suppose he had to do that. And we checked it out, and he said, "You're as fit as a mallee." I thought, bullshit. I got the aches and pains. I know what's going on. There's something wrong. And he said, "Oh, I think you got depression."
I guess the way to get men to change is just to make it acceptable to talk about it. But the more men that do talk about it, the more it will seem to be okay for other men to do it.
I think it's really important for people to realise that depression is an illness and that it's treatable.
I was initially worried about my neighbour. My neighbour's wife spoke to me one day and just said she was worried about him, that he was not getting out. And he normally goes to the pub on a Friday night. So in my wisdom, I thought I might help him out. And I thought, well, if it's good for my neighbour across the road, some of my other mates might appreciate it. And I own a little bus, and I thought, okay, we'll load up a few mates, take them to a little town a bit away and have a night.
Yes, it was a very relaxed sort of atmosphere. So the meeting was actually at a local bowling club in Barmedman. There was a very easy meal put on, steak sandwiches, that sort of thing. I think there were 2 drinks, either alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And then basically what happened was after the meal, John introduced the session and spoke about his personal journey, which had, I think, a very profound impact on the group of people there. When people tell their story, that's always a very powerful tool.
John organised people to be in an environment whereby they could start chatting on these issues, and it seemed to slowly grow and people got more confidence, and someone knew someone who introduced someone else.
One of the things they got out of it was this concept that they're not in it alone.
Because most people won't admit that they're having these troubles, so then I would try to get people to come to help somebody else. And to give is to receive. That's why I get such enjoyment out of this. The feedback and stuff I've got since doing these evenings they're just fantastic. The problem was, being from a small community, I had more mates than I could fit on the bus. So then I thought, oh, well, I'll hire a bigger bus, a 20-seater, and take them. And I had no trouble filling that bus, and I thought, bugger it, we'll get a big bus.
The idea of a bus trip and the idea of one small community taking a group of people to meet other people in a small community is great.
They were saying that they didn't have to have a responsibility. They could actually got picked up, taken to the meeting, could have a few beers and get home without sort of worrying about whether they were going to get home or whether someone had to pick them up. It was sort of all organised for them, so it was made sort of very, very easy.
I've been to formal presentations and they bore me to tears. So I invited professional people along. They got a chance to introduce themselves, but they were there basically to mix with the farmers. They could talk about anything, basically, but their main purpose was to show the farmers that they were ordinary people. They were normal people that specialised in an area, but they had the farmers' genuine concern at heart. They were fair dinkum people.
People wanted the opportunity to be able to talk, not to be bombarded with information.
It was great, and the mental health worker that was there was an ex-cocky, so he was terrific. He was very easy, mixed very easily. Didn't present himself as a mental health worker, he presented himself as a fellow who really understood.
It's better received if a friend's helping a friend, I suppose.
The feedback is just magnificent, and it's people power. It's people helping people.
Long after the drought disappears off the front page of the paper, right, and we've had a break, the impact of this drought in particular will be felt.
The drought can't be called over until people have made a financial recovery.
It'll take 2 to 3 years to recover.
Yeah, you're looking at least 6 to 8 years to recover this, I would think.
10 days ago we had rain and obviously we're getting the green pick and everything coming through. A lot of people would look at this, particularly from the other side of the Great Divide, and think that, okay, we're coming out of this drought and things are going to be rosy. I think you'll find, if you talk to anybody to do with farming, is that we're all extremely worried, especially say for the next couple of years. And a lot of us know that it's going to take a long haul for probably 5 years, 7 years. Some of us are going to survive and some aren't.
When things become easier, I think that's when people will be probably vulnerable, I suppose, just as they are now.
I believe the Mate Helping Mate is a concept that should be utilised throughout regional and rural Australia as an ongoing program. The concept depends upon the involvement of the wider community.
We do have a responsibility to ourselves to actually get on with the job of helping ourselves.
Hopefully we're going to find a lot more Johns out there who will be able to use their wisdom, their skill, their down-to-earth approach and make a great scheme even greater and help benefit people.
That's pretty basic stuff, really. You just got to be mates. That's what it's about.
This is a poem that I've wrote in class. What's rain? Cracked ground in burning heat, killing all prized sheep.
It's the only chance that some farmers have to realise that they're not the only one, they're not in this alone.
Kicking headaches bring you down, cursing and swearing at the ground.
Mate Helping Mate has been, I think, the most successful of any campaign in this area to help isolated people.
Dead trees and collapsing branches trying to perform special rain dances.
And I know it can go anywhere in Australia because we're all mates. That's basically what it is. It's all things Australian, basically.
My rain dreams have completely faded. All this time I have waited and waited. Down it comes, denting my roof with great pleasure. I will not forget this day. No, never.